Our next speaker is one who is known for his talks and his writings. He's delivered over 3,500 talks in over 23 countries. And today he's going to be talking to us about a subject that we have studied in college and a theme that we have heard from our grandparents. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming on stage Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, talking about Covey, lessons from Valmiki's Rama through the lens of Stephen Covey.
Jayatyashrita santrasa dhvanta vidvamsa nodayah Prabhavan Sitaya Devya Paramavyoma Bhaskaraha. Namaskaram to all of you who are present here. Namaste. I immensely thank Rajesh Mysore for asking me to speak in Bengaluru, and on such an evening where I've been preceded by Sri Anurag, I'll be followed by another great speaker. So as much as how it can get sandwiched, this talk is titled Covey. So the Covey comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and Val comes from Valmiki's Ramayana. And what a beautiful connection that his surname has with the topic, because Valmiki is hailed as the Adi Kavi. So when it is titled Val Kavi, it fits in well. When Dasharatha, after having ruled for a very long time, calls his ministers who were educated. It may seem like an oxymoron now. His ministers were educated. So he called the ministers and the ones who were well versed in the scriptures and asked if he could coronate the eldest of his sons, Rama, as the heir apparent, as the Yuvaraja. That is when Valmiki writes, Ichhamohi Mahabahum Raghuviram Mahabalam Gajena Mahatayantam Ramam Chhatravritananam. My dear king, we have been waiting for that moment when you would make this grand announcement. The king was happy that his son deserved such a royal welcome and reception, but he did have a question. He asked, was I so bad that you're waiting for somebody else to come? And of course, the ministers had to allay his fears and doubts, and they said, see, you're good, but we know he will be the best. So, Dasharatha, being the very good administrator, he asks his ministers as to what qualities do you see in Rama that he could be the heir apparent. So, there is a list of about 40 shlokas that goes in Ayodhya Kandam, where they tell these are the qualities that will make him a good administrator. Of the qualities, of the rigmarole of qualities that he has to speak, there are some that can actually raise our eyebrows. One, the king says he's a very good musician. We may wonder, a musician and a minister or a king, how does it relate to? Gandharva Shastraihi is the Shabdam. Why? I've learnt music for some short period of time of 5 years. I can tell you where music plays a role in speaking. Music brings that art of articulating your speech. You wouldn't want your speech to go morose. You don't want to say, as I speak today. You will all be listening. You want some highs and lows. So that music helps you. Second, he says, Vaiharikanam cha vidyam cha. He's very good in dance. The second quality is he's very good in dance. Where did Rama dance? At least we have a Kalinga Nartana Krishna. Krishna did dance in the middle of the night with the women, which is called as Rasa Krida. But where does Rama dance? He was one of those shy persons in a Bharat or a Sangeet. Even if you would pull him over, he wouldn't dance. But the quality mention is of dance. Why? Because dance brings a lot of discipline. It brings you the discipline, it gives you a lot of other things which you can't even envisage. Then And what are the other qualities? Then they say, Vayo vriddhaihi, jnana vriddhaihi, shila vriddhaihi. He has the ability to listen patiently. I'm sure Dasharatha would have spotted the talent in all of you as well. 3 lectures, one after the other, with no sabbatical. So that does say that how lineage-wise we are all related to Rama. So he was a very good listener. Vayo vriddhaihi, jnana vriddhaihi, shila vriddhaihi. And in the regional transcreations, when Kamban, one of the earliest poets to have written that in Tamil, he says that Vasishtha intervened and said, see, I have got a great quality for Rama. Dasharatha asked what? His wife is good. Tayyilum nallal. What does it mean? More than people coming to positions of power in politics, their family members should not put them into problems. So, we here have Sita, Tayyilum nallal. So, these are the qualities that people list. 40 verses you can go through. Finally, Dasharatha says, well, whatever decision I've made has been corroborated with the statements that you have all made. So let me make him the king. But before news goes even to his family, it went to media. And that is how Manthara got to know of this, and we know what happened after that. See, the beauty is, in the Ramayana, when Rama is told that he will be the king, he accepts it. He says, thank you for giving me the opportunity. He goes home, he informs this to his wife. I don't know in which cloud number she was, but she does acknowledge. And in a few hours from then, the plan A turns plan B. And then he's called and he's asked to go and stay in the forest. He's ordained to go to the forest for 14 years. It was plan B. It was Dasharatha's good luck that Rama was his son and Krishna was not. Krishna would have sued him in the court for millions of dollars, and I'm sure he couldn't have gotten back after such a legal setback. So Rama immediately said, well, I will start for the forest. This is where Stephen Covey's first habit called, he says, be proactive. And in the pages that he writes about being proactive, he talks about 2 circles. One, the circle of concern. The other, the circle of influence. So he says, my health, my family, my education. Pardon me for those pronunciations because I'm used to the word education, because some say education and I don't know which one to follow, UK or US. This is the Indian accent of English. So let's go by the word education, root and now trout. With such shifts that we often make in accents, schedule and schedule. So one's education, one's health is the circle of concern. Where does circle of influence begin? That is when Stephen says that when people around you whom you have trusted or mistrusted fall in that circle. This is where Dasharatha falls flat. There is a mistake. See, Dasharatha, he goes to the inner apartment of his wife called as Kaikeyi, one of his many wives called Kaikeyi. I have to bring in that polygamous nature of the king. So he goes to that apartment of his wife called Kaikeyi, but then she is not found in the apartment. The Sairandrika Stris, the Sairandrikas are the hairdressers. The hairdressers inform that she has relinquished all her comforts and she has gone to a chamber of anger. So when we look at Valmiki's description, we'll be quite surprised that there were special apartments for each emotion. So abstract nouns for English teachers could be done on such real estate value. So she had a apartment where she could showcase her anger, Kopa Bhavanam. So Dasharatha goes there, he finds her lying on the floor and then he's unable to take this. A man who has fought many wars gets so sensitive, like the touch me not, where he says that I can't see my dearest of the wife whom I sport with on every page 3. So she's lying on the floor. So as delicate as what a person can get, as romantic as what a person can get in such a melancholic moment. He lifts her and places her on the bed. Valmiki gives 24,000 verses, so every movement is described in a shloka. So he lifts her and places her, and he checks with her, what has made the apple of my eye and all of that. So, Sanskritam has its own way of putting things. He says, Kalidasa says, Patrani Swarnavarnani Karnantaya cha lochane in Sanskritam. To ask a girl for a beetle leaf, he says, Patrani Swarnavarnani Karnantaya cha lochane. Oh, the girl whose eyes are as broad and extend still the ears. Golden colored leaves. This is what he asks. So he could have made it as simple, beetle leaves. But that's the poet. So, and the other poet called Dandi, he asks for the paste that needs to be applied over a beetle leaf. He says, Turnam aniyatam churnam purnachandra nibhanane. Oh, the girl whose countenance looks like the full moon that is bereft of blemishes, please go fetch me the paste that needs to be applied over the beetle leaves. So, I'm cutting off all those similes and metaphors and onomatopoeia to make it as simple as possible. He keeps her on the bed and he asks her, what has made my dear wife upset? And she doesn't reply. She is extremely strategic. Should have been one of the consultants. So she doesn't reply. And you know what? Had it been any other king that we have known in the past, you ask twice or thrice, the person doesn't reply, you know that there's a serious problem with the person for a therapy, and you would come away. What he does is, look at the circle of concern where Stephen comes in. He says, I will do anything for you. In 1931-33, roughly about 90 years back, in the presidency of Madras, in the very famed Sanskrit college of Mylapore, a person who was born and raised in Kumbhakonam, later tutored in Britain, called Right Honorable V.S. Srinivasa Shastri, if you've heard of him. He was called the silver-tongued man. So people used to come in boats from the UK to get their doubts in English clarified from this Kumbhakonam person. So he gave about 100 lectures that were recorded. One for its beauty, the way he deals with English as a language. And second, the way he writes it. He says, Dasharatha was a king who used to promise in haste and repent in leisure. So I was wondering what made him come with such a cliched statement. I thought there should be some precursors to election manifestos. So he said, I will do anything for my dear wife. She doesn't wake up. Finally, he says, I promise in the name of my dearest son Rama that I will do anything for you. She wakes up and he lies down. So the role reverses. And then she has those two boons that she asks. I'm sure you must have all seen Ramanand Sagar, N.T. Ramarao, M.G. Ramachandran, Shivaji Ganeshan, our own Dr. Rajkumar. So the moment I say Ramayana, one of these people will come to your mind. See, the beauty is, he has done a mistake now. And there's always a mistake before. What was the before mistake? When they were fighting a war, Kaikeyi assisted. For that assistance, he said, I will give you 2 boons. But that was not the problem. He should have given an expiry date. After so many very years, knowing from media sources, which is Manthara, she tutors Kaikeyi to ask. See, at times, most of the things in a family is very well known to the driver of the car. Manthara knew what to ask. So she told Kaikeyi, ask these 2 boons. And there's already another mistake that Dasharatha has made, that I will promise in the name of Rama, whatever you ask, I'll give. So this is where Stephen Covey says, this is your circle of influence. And Dasharatha did not have that circle of influence spread far and wide. It was shrinking second after second. So the very king who had sought such a public opinion from learned people, if Rama was capable, and got a positive response, and was not acting against the very norms of the monarchy in those days, had to succumb to Kaikeyi's boons only because he was not being proactive. He was being reactive. On the other hand, Rama was being very proactive. I'll tell you how. So Rama is called. He said you have to go to the forest for 14 years. And the Tamil poet, Kamban. I will try translating, but most translations to regional languages will not give you the same essence, but you will gauge where I'm going. So he says when Rama exited Dasharatha's apartment after knowing that he has to spend his tenure of 14 years in the forest, Kamban, the Tamil poet, says, Appodu alarnda sendamarai vendradamma. Rama, who was told that you will become a king, looked like a lotus. I'm not being political. So, his face looked like a lotus. Take it as a national flower. So, his face looked like a lotus, and the moment he was told that he has to go to the forest, languish in the forest for 14 years, it looked like a lotus that had just then blossomed. Earlier, it was a lotus at about 12 noon. But this was at 6 a.m. Appodu alarnda sendamarai vendradama. So he was game for it. He said, I will go. But look at his circle of influence. Unlike Dasharatha's, let's look at Rama's circle of influence. Because Dasharatha was being reactive. But let's see what his son does. He goes to his mother Kaushalya's apartment and says that there's a small change in the plan. I was asked to be the heir apparent. But now for 14 years, I have to spend my time in the forests of Dandaka. The world is small. Let's catch up. And let's stay in touch. Hoi polloi. And as he was about to exit, his mother said, where are you leaving me? Have I been waiting for so many years since your birth to see you wear the hermit dress and then walk on the path that's infested with thorns and stones? I too shall follow you. Rama knows that this command is on him and not the people who support him, who think good of him. So he says, Mata, that father has been asked to go on Vildagliptin and metformin combination. So somebody needs to monitor, and you had promised the physician that you will make note of what all he has to take. So I trust you. So please stay with Papa. I will be back. 14 years is nothing. You can watch, if you believe what I'm going to do in the wars and you want to see how a war looks, watch any of the news channels at 9 p.m. So he engaged his mother and he went. Then he went to his wife. He said, Sita, I know we have spent 12 years since marriage here in Ayodhya, but there's a command on me that I have to go to the forest. That's been told by my father, and this avatara is for Pitravakya Paripalanam, and I will miss you a lot. He gets as cinematic as possible. In Tamil, there's a movie called Vaidehi Kattirundal. So you're called Vaidehi, you can keep waiting for 14 years. So I'll be back soon, miss you a lot. Then that is where Sita said, see, this is a very drastic decision that you're trying to thrust upon me. He said, no, you are enjoying comforts. Forest will have none of them. Akantakan. This is full, without thorns, that is full of Kantaka, which is full of thorns. She says, see, I have a real problem. Managing you is easier than managing so many mothers-in-law. All of them are suffering from good health. And so it's better I choose to come with you. And then there's an altercation between the two. And finally, Rama says, okay, if you're planning to come with me, come. Then there's an addition. So it's 1 plus 1 now. Now it's 2 plus 1. Lakshmana says, Aham sarvam karishyami jagrataha swapataschate. Whether be it night or day, I will do all services to the both of you. All services, whatever you say. Sweep, mop, cook, bring the fuel, wash. I'll do everything. I'll do the Parnakashala construction of the hermitages. Aham sarvam karishyami. Sita said, please don't leave him. See, wouldn't that be less prudent to leave such a selfless person? So Rama says, okay, join me to the forest. So the population that was accompanying Rama kept increasing. So this is where we need to understand that Rama was just not being proactive, but he was very strategic. So this aspect of being proactive, what Stephen Covey says from page 5 to page 47 of his book, has been told to us through two beautiful characters by Valmiki called Dasharatha and Rama, the father and the son. It also means that the son doesn't have to repeat the mistakes of his father. Angadangat sambhavasi hridayad adhijayase atma vai putranamasi, says Vedam. So, before I even proceed to the next topic, many of you will be wondering, am I trying to, there is always a thing that when there is something good, we'll always say, oh, it all emerged from India. It was all learned from India. I wouldn't want to get that unrealistic. But all that I would like to submit and say is, management as a branch of knowledge, the content that is being disseminated through management is not something that is new to us. If you would look at one of our grandmothers 2-3 generations back, they may have not studied organizational behavior in semester 2, negotiation skills in semester 3, nothing. But they knew how to negotiate. But they knew how to manage. So management is an art as well that can be innate in a person. So all that we have compiled, composed and put together as syllabus is our learnings from people in the past. It was not the other way where the management book was dropped from heaven and people started reading it and then started practicing. It was practice first and then preaching which came later. That said, this is the first part. And the second habit that Stephen Covey talks is begin with the end in mind. What was that which Rama wanted to see himself as? He wanted to be seen as the solution to the menace that people are facing. That's what we see him throughout the Grantha. And it was believed that Ravana was the king of the neighboring region called Lanka. And very good administrator. See, when we have to give due credits, we need to recognize that. When Hanuman goes in Sundarakandam, when he enters Lanka, he sees the city so very well managed. He says, I'm not sure if Rama is going to win the city and the place. It was so very well managed. Ravana was no normal person, very adept, very good administrator. Puranas say that he was an extremely devout person, devotee to Shiva. Some say he was a Vainika. He knew how to play the Veena instrument. He was there in arts. He had learned the Vedas. He was a devout person. Good administrator. Then what went wrong? Character. His character was very, very weak. Very weak. We have plenty of cases where he had assaulted, undermined the power of women before he could mishandle Sita. Many shlokas of Rambha, Tilottama. So, when we see Ravana, we have to see him as a good administrator with a poor character. So, when Rama had vowed that he will get rid of this menace called as Ravana, that was the end in his mind. And towards that, every movement of his was very well orchestrated and calculated. So, the first thing that he has to get rid of Ravana is he has to get closer to him. He was already 2,700 kilometers away from Negumbu or Kandi or Nuvara Eliya. 2,700 kilometers. So he had to cross various geographical regions. So he had to get close. So when his father said, you have been asked to, through Kaikeyi, that you have been asked to go to the forest for 14 years, he thought, well, this is the first step. And then when his wife said, I too want to join, he thought, well, she could be used. When I said used, get the word right. When Acharya said, Tanichirayil Vilapputra Kilimuriyal, Sita was equally aware of Ravana's bad qualities. So, she had conditioned herself to be kidnapped in such a way so that Rama would come. So, this is begin with end with the mind. And next, as much as he fought, he also wanted to tell the world that he is not ruthless. That is why in the Yuddham with Ravana, when Ravana was bereft of weapons, he says, take your time, go home, prepare yourself for the next day battle and then come. He didn't want to behead him, take him away, nothing. He said, equip yourself and come. So Rama wanted to be recognized as a person who will get rid of the menace of the world by deploying his own family members where they undergo the pain, and he will bring an end to the menace of the world. So, it's a general human habit. Whenever my father or mother while I was young, used to take me on the road, we had to walk. They will always keep me to the side of the pavement. They will walk towards the side of the road because the belief was there'll be some great Mahanubhava who may come in his vehicle and hit. Let I be the first victim and not my son or daughter. But when Rama does this, he's not selfish, he's selfless. He says, so what if my family members take the brunt of it, but I will be able to give a better welfare for this world. So Stephen Covey, I don't know whether he had Rama in his mind, so that will be too much for us to extrapolate. But when he says, begin with the end in the mind, I'm sure we can always put Rama as an example of this particular principle. Third, this is where he gives a 2x2 chart. So what is that principle? He says, put first things first. So he takes two parameters. He takes urgency and importance. He says, there are things which are urgent and important. There are things which are urgent but not important. There are things which are important but not urgent. And fourth, there are things which are not urgent and not important. Let's take this cube first. Not urgent, not important. So there is this widowed sister of Ravana called Shurpanakha. Nakha in Sanskritam means nail. Shurpa means the winnowing fan. So I'm sure when you separate the husk from the grain, you would want to take the husk out, retain the grain. So how do you do it? You take a fan and then do it so the husk goes away. So this is called the winnowing fan called Shurpa. Shurpanakha means one whose nails were just not sharp but were growing sideways. It is a genetic fault. Whenever I used to read the Ramayana, I used to wonder, I've never seen such a person. But in Bombay, while I was working, my roommate, once every 3 months, he would go get a surgical procedure done where they would take all his nails off, complete nails off, because his nails never used to grow straight. It will grow sideways. It will tear the skin and grow. So that aspect she must have had, because it says Shurpanakha, it grows like this. So this Shurpanakha, who was the widowed sister of Ravana, who was made a widow by Ravana because her husband was killed by Ravana. So she did not want to live in Lanka. So she spent a large part of her time in Janasthana, which is very close to the current day Vidarbha region, Nagpur. So that is when she loiters in the forest. As she loiters, she spots a very handsome, blemishless person called Rama. She comes and proposes. Shurpanakha's mistake was not about the proposal. It was about the avataram she chose. Had she chosen Krishna avataram, I'm sure her application wouldn't have been rejected. So it was Rama avataram, where Rama wanted to be a trendsetter to being monogamous. So he said, I can't accept your proposal, however beautiful and however romantic it is. And she was extremely coaxing herself, saying that you have to accept. Then Rama had no option. He did something, not so very comfortable. He just said, go do propose to my younger brother, and probably, let's see what he does. And the irony is, she doesn't stop here. She accepts this suggestion of Rama and then goes to Lakshmana, who has been doing the dishes. That I would love to marry you, a lot more can happen over the cup of coffee. And I'm not very far from its headquarters, right? So he says that, Shurpanakha, the problem is not with your proposal. If you end up marrying me, half the share of my dishes will come to you. So when people have been shuttling her left and right, that's when she spots Sita. And then while she's about to kill Sita is where her nose is cut, and then there is a humiliation. Now the point is, answering Shurpanakha, replying to her proposal, redirecting her to Lakshmana, and then finally, giving her the punishment that she was accorded, was neither urgent nor important. But doing so did cause a problem to Sita, because it is this humiliated Shurpanakha who goes and manipulates the entire scene to Ravana, stating that, see, I have no interest in my life. I thought I could spot Sita, blemishless beauty for you, and wanted to bring her over and see what has happened to me. This is how she manipulates. So what led her to manipulate this? Because she was punished. Why was she punished? Because she was treated with importance while she was not important. So that which is not urgent and that which is not important, both of this combination, if it is given importance, this is what it will lead to. So this is one. Second, he gives another example. He says, urgent but not that important. So that's the next cube. Urgent but not that important. So I was thinking, who will fit this particular box? There is this person called Sugriva. Sugriva is from our own state, Karnataka, because Karnataka, I hope you all know why it is called Karnataka. Karneshu atati iti Karnata. So it is believed that this state, this Pradesham, has always been home to valorous kings and of great prowess. And they used to bring news of only victory. And there were poets whose poems were so beautiful. So whatever you listen to, whether the victory news or poems that were very, very nice. So Mahalakshmi's earrings would always dangle and jingle when she would listen to news from this Pradesham. Because this state brings happiness to Mahalakshmi and she nods her head when the earrings dangle, Karneshu atati is called Karnata. Karnata means that state where Mahalakshmi dangles her ears and she listens to news. So you add a suffix, Karnata is Karnataka. So that's how you got the name Karnataka. So from this state, Sugriva, what is so urgent but not important? See, the beauty is, when Rama and Lakshmana come in search, they are on a sojourn in search of Sita. So when they see Sugriva, Sugriva first sends Hanuman to do an identity verification of these people if they have been dispatched by his own very brother to get him annihilated. Then he understands that they are trustable men from Ayodhya, somewhere in the north. But then he also recognizes that his IT returns go to the processing center of Ayodhya. Ikshvakunamiyam bhumihi sashaila vanakanana. So he friends Rama. And then he understands the greatness of Rama's valor, how he killed Subahu, then killed Maricha and so on. So what does he do? His wife is lost. His wife is Ruma. She is under the custody of his brother. And he has been helpless to rescue her. On the other hand, Rama's wife is also missing. So there was a pact between the two that they will help each other in rescuing their respective wives. Sita Kapindra Kshanadacharanam Rajiva Hemojjvala Nopamani Sugriva Rama Pranaya Prasange Vamani Netrani Samam Sphuranti, says Valmiki. So that's the pact. Now, he should have trusted his trusted aid Hanuman's words. He should have Googled or checked on Quora.com about Rama's attributes. But you know what he does? Rama, I know you look very gym-bodied. But the problem is, I'm not sure whether you will have the prowess to handle my brother Vali. So why don't you just pierce one of the Shala Vrikshams here with your arrow? So it was not important, but it was urgent. So Rama thought the only way to bring confidence in this Vanara, is by doing such things. And that is where he does something which is urgent, but not that important. Is there something which is not urgent but important? Yes. After having spotted that Sita is missing and after having known from Jatayu's body language that Sita has been kidnapped, abducted, he walks all the way to Karnataka. On his way, there is a hermitage spotted of a lady with no name. Can you tell me that lady's name? Shabari. See, the beauty is, Shabari is not her name. Shabara means people of the hunters community. Shabara Jati. So, if you are a woman of the hunters community, you are called Shabari. Her name was not Shabari, but what was her name? Even Valmiki did not know. He says, Kapi Shabari, some Shabari. So it was not urgent. Rama could have said, see, I will find Sita wherever she is. I'll fight the war. Then on my way back, let's have some nice lunch or brunch or supper here in her place. But he does not find this urgent, but he thinks this is important. Because he believes that even in circumstances where people can get tense and mad, I have to tell the world how composed and seasoned can a person be. See, suppose I'm giving a lecture now and I'm starting from my house and my daughter comes and asks, don't ask me anything now. Bharatnomics, Rajesh has called. Where Rajesh is? Rajesh has called. So, I need to think. Whether I do that or not, I still say. So, how to remain calm, composed, seasoned is what Rama wanted to showcase by attending to Shabari's ashramam, which was not urgent but important. So, not urgent, not important, we have spotted one character, Shurpanakha. Urgent but not important, Sugriva. Not urgent but important, Shabari. Then what is urgent and important? This is where we come across one very interesting character called Hanuman. See, Hanuman was presumably the only celibate in the entire group. He had vowed that he will never marry. And the tutelage that he had was in a boys only school. So, under Surya. So, his understanding of women, barring his own mother Anjana Devi and Vali's Patni or Sugriva Patni, was very low. And the task that he was given was, go spot a woman, a Narastri, not even a Vanarastri, Narastri called Sita in a foreign land. So probably the first documented evidence of a person whose foreign return in our scriptures is Hanuman. And they were talking about ambassador and fiat and all of that in the 60s, 70s and 80s. I was in my Purva Janma then. But at least in the 1980s, where I was born, in 1990 when I was nourished and nurtured, having one relative in a foreign country was a big deal. And somehow you would want to establish a relationship with that distant relative and make him as close as possible. But that person will be, of a different blood group, A, B, negative or positive, however he was. So, it was the same situation for Hanuman in Kishkinda, because when he returned from Lanka, everybody would say, Nam Anjana Devaru magari avanu. Foreign hogbit bandidar nodi, avanu on-site project ri avunge. So, Hanuman was that way. Now, imagine Hanuman's situation. The first hurdle was, he was asked to go in search of a woman, a Narastri. He was being of a Vanarajati. He has to go in search of a woman of a Narajati. He has never met her, never spoken to her, never seen her. Her profile was locked. He couldn't see her. And he has to go spot her in the middle of Lanka. He doesn't know even the topography of Lanka. And the greatest of Brahma's creation called GPS was in there. So how will he go spot? First he has to spot the country, break the hurdles. We don't even know what language he spoke and she spoke. Because there were two languages, Samskritanam, Ivruddhanam. So first he speaks in Sanskritam, then he says Manushya Bhashanam. In the middle of the night, he has to meet her, carry that ring, give her, collect some insignia from her, return to the same place before the wee hours of the morning. See, that one episode when he leaves Bharatam, comes back from Lanka, is less than 24 hours. And 2,500 plus verses by Valmiki is called Sundarakandam for this. Sundarakandam is just about the set of 15 hours. Imagine what would have gone in Hanuman's mind. First of all, he does a identification mismatch. He thinks Ravana's Patni Mandodari to be Sita. Then he, through his Tarkayamasa Siteti, then he thinks, will Rama Patni be so happily sleeping on a sleepwell mattress like this? So, then he goes to the forest and then spots her below the Shimshupa Vriksham. Remember, observation. How does he know this is Sita? Because when Sita was being carried away by Ravana, she tore a part of her pallu, her sari, and threw some jewelry. The motif found on her pallu was spotted in her sari, it seems. Taddakulanka murtau, he does that identification. Whatever jewelry that she had thrown couldn't be spotted on her body. Only the rest were there. You cannot However, whatever be a penchant towards chokers, you cannot have 3-4 chokers. There can be only one. So, those jewelry was not spotted. Now, when the Yuddham comes, imagine the monkeys who were hurt in the war, they were bleeding profusely, some had fractures. That is when a Pandita comes and says, we need 4 herbs. Suvaranakarani, Santanakarani, Sandhani, and Sanjeevani. These are the 4 herbs. Imagine the binomial nomenclatures being told. Chlorophytum, Borivilianum. This is how the binomial nomenclatures go, and he's nowhere close to botany. First of all, in the presentation that Anurag ji gave, there were close to 44,000 plus people who have done PhD in physics. My condolences to them. So now let's come to botany. See, this binomial nomenclature, Hanuman was no science student. He was into arts. Suddenly this Pandita gives 4 binomial names and says, go bring those leaves. See, just call your son or daughter, whoever, or both of them. Go tell them, fetch tur dal from the kitchen. To a person who doesn't know how a kitchen looks or where does a kitchen function and how it functions, tur dal and masoor dal and moong dal and channa dal will look the same. So he'll be a true Advaitin. He can't see the second. Ekameva Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Naivayikanaparaha iti Vedanta Dindimaha, says Adi Shankara. He will see, this is all one dal. So similarly, for a non-botany student like Hanuman, he is being told in the middle of the night to fetch 4 herbs. But he takes that as a challenge because it is urgent. He does that very night because he knows the importance, because in the early hours of the morning, the Yuddham will begin. So some first aid has to be given. That is when he does something very intelligent. I'm sure your daughters and sons will also have the grace of Hanuman. What they will do is, they will bring the entire dabbas in front of us. You choose. So Hanuman does the same thing. He picks up the entire foliage and says, Pandita, you choose whatever you want. I couldn't spot. So you choose. So this is urgent and important. So Hanuman becomes the befitting example for being urgent and important. So that is what Stephen Covey says as put first things first. The 4th and the 5th are very easy. We can couple them. 4th is listen first to understand and then be understood and think win-win. Simple situation. Ravana had a younger brother who had the ability to think. His name was Vibhishana. Vibhishana understands from the incidents, because in the middle of the night, some unknown person from the neighboring country comes and does such a huge damage to the country where they have to go to the IMF. So Lanka was in debt. So he says, Vibhishana says, see, some Arbit Vanara from Bharata Desham calling himself as a messenger of Rama does this damage in the middle of the night. It will take years for us, even after the regime change, to get back to normalcy. And you are of the opinion that Rama will be able to lose in front of you. This is bad. And then he gives another example. These are 5 shlokas in Yuddha Kandam. He says, see, my dear brother Ravana, the moment Sita has entered Lanka, from that day onwards, the stocks have not been doing well. See, this is one thing. Why does he says, Samriddhi has gone, prosperity has gone. Why did he do that? Because at least by telling this, let this man think financially and put her back. When you know that your schemes of, this much rupees per month is costing you this, you'll have to think and stop. That's what, but Ravana being the egoistic person, he said, whatever be it, I cannot return her. Let Lanka be turned into a heap of ashes. I'm least bothered. I care a damn for it. That is when Vibhishana says, see, if one of the persons from the Praja does a mistake, they will come to the administrator. The administrator himself is into Me Too. Where will people go? This is bad, right? So I will leave. See, I can't be a part of Adharma. I will leave. So when he leaves Lanka and reaches the boundary of Bharata Desham, which is the southern Tamil Nadu, that is when Sugriva says, halt. I'll go check if CAA has been implemented. First asylum seeker, right, from Lanka Pradesham. That is when he goes to Rama and says, Rama, there is one person from Lanka. Rama is all full of smiles. He asks, has Ravana come? No, his younger brother Vibhishana. Vibhishana, okay, what has he said? What does he have to say? He says that Raghavam Sharanam Gataha. I have come seeking asylum in Rama because I know what my elder brother is doing is wrong. Is it? Very good. What did you say? I said, wait. Okay. What is your opinion, Sugriva? See, when you don't have the numbers and you have to be in correlation, you'll have to listen to everybody. So he asks Sugriva, what is your opinion? Sugriva, see, whenever you ask a very unimportant person for the opinion, the person feels very important. So Sugriva said, wait. I personally feel that a person who has deserted his elder brother shouldn't be given asylum. Rama just smiled at him, gave a guffaw. See, the beauty was, Sugriva deserted his brother Vali. Us samay kuch nahi hua. The pot is calling the kettle black. So, Rama said, very good point. Whenever you hear something unimportant, the only way to shut the other person down is say that your point is good. Well taken. He said, then Sugriva said, is there some person who has the first-hand experience here of having gone to Lanka? The only person was Hanuman. Hanuman said, see, as a humble foreign returned person from Lanka, I can tell you with my personal experience that when all of them in the assembly of Ravana wanted to see me beheaded, there was only one soul who stood up and said, we cannot, as per 1964 Geneva Pact, affect the ambassador of any other country. We can just return. So the only person who stood for the worldly order and convention was this person. So I trust Vibhishana completely. He has to be given asylum. So on one side came Sugriva's opinion, Vibhishana is bad. He shouldn't be given asylum. The other side came Hanuman's opinion, he is good, he should be given asylum. So Rama wanted to choose the best. He said, I take one part of yours, Vibhishana is bad. I will take this part of yours, he should be given asylum. The point is, even if Vibhishana is bad, I will give him asylum. Sakrideva prapannayat tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarva bhutebhyaha dadamyetad vratam mama. So this is think win-win. Why? Because if you have to rattle your enemy's mind, you have to first prove that somebody who knows your secrets is with me. So Vibhishana is with me. But in serials they show as if Vibhishana was telling Rama there is some Amrita Kalasham here next to appendix and between the diaphragm and the appendix, now you shoot an arrow. Nothing of this happened in Valmiki Ramayanam. Okay, his small intestine, large intestine, all this was not told. Because it is generally said Vibhishana was trying to hint. All this is not there in Ramayanam. It is there in the director's Ramayanam. Not in Valmiki's Ramayanam. But this is the way to rattle. So for Rama it was a win. For Vibhishana also it was a win. Because Rama had said that I will restore Dharma in Lanka, thereby making you the king. So it was a win-win, which is the fourth habit. Then comes the fifth habit, which is very easy. Think first to understand and then be understood. Listen first to understand. The art of listening is very important. I'm sure there'll be parents, prospect parents, grandparents, prospect grandparents here. And being the Indian father and mother, however good we are in academics, we want the child to excel. When Devaki and Vasudeva were languishing in the jail of Mathura, after 10 years, they get to see their son Krishna, because Krishna comes all the way, he kills Kamsa and he releases his mother and father from 301. That's when they have to get released, and then Krishna introduces. Till yesterday I was known as N Krishna. Today I will be called, from today onwards, I'm V Krishna. Because Gazette, we have to go change. I'm very happy to note that you are my parents. See, your eyes, your hands, everything are in me. I'm your son. And the parents have to get equally happy, elated. She is an Indian mom. At the end of the day, Devaki is an Indian mom. She didn't even exit the jail. She asked, what did you study? Enna padichirka sollu. Yen odidiya? Then that is when Krishna says, see, odidiya, there was no school. There were no schools in my... Even before exiting the jail, they had to put him into a crash course in Indore near Sandipini's ashramam for 64 days. So that's how Indian parents work. So here, when we look at the skills that we need to imbibe in children and grandchildren, the first of the skills is listening. See, when we watch a visual treat like a beautiful movie, take a Sanjay Leela Bhansali where there is an organza with a Pythony border and the Banarasi brocade, I'm sure that is going to bring a visual treat to the eyes rather than looking at a person in panchakacham and a plain yellow kurta for 1 hour. I know it will be an eyesore, but the art of listening states that you have to win over the bad looks of a person and look at the content. So listening dominates the other skills. That is why Bhagavatam says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam, Iti Pumsar Pitar Vishnor, Bhaktische, Navalakshana. Listening. So the habit that Stephen Covey states is, listen first to understand. Rama patiently listened. Sugriva, tum bol? You, Hanuman, you speak. No, don't speak at the same time. This is not 9 p.m. So, speak individually, and then I will let the people know what the nation wants to know. So, listen first to understand and then be understood, and think win-win. Habit 4, habit 5. Habit 6, habit 7 is easy to do. One is synergize, and the 7th habit is sharpen the saw. This has to do with the personal skills that a person owns. How do we synergize? Look at these nice pictures. So there is Shurpanakha. See, can you see that? Shurpanakha, there is Shabari, there is Hanuman, there is presumably Sugriva. Then this is Vibhishana Sharanagati. Right? So this is Setu Bandhanam. See, there could be a volley of questions asked. There are many answers available in Quora.coms of the world. How did he construct Setu? One answer is, people say there were stones that could float. I don't know if Valmiki has hinted at all of those floating stones. But there is one aspect to this engineering here, because between Bharatadesham, where Dhanushkoti ends, and Lanka, there was an oceanic ridge. An oceanic ridge is the inflamed portion of the bed, oceanic floor. And to some parts before Sita Paharanam, it is believed that that particular piece of land that was connecting Bharatadesham and Lanka was above the oceanic waters, and that was accessible. It was a thin strip of land. But between Sita's kidnapping and Rama coming to that place, it is believed that there was flooding. We have evidence of that in Sangam literature of the Tamil land called Kavatapuram. Kavatapuram was the capital of the Pandyas. Valmiki says Pandyanam Kavatam. So when the oceanic waters rise, this particular ridge would have got submerged. So from the oceanic bed, there is a certain height to the oceanic ridge. But that could not be used because the waters had enveloped it. So that is when Rama knew that there was something that needs to be constructed. He could have taken boats and all of it. One reason given is, the ancient people who followed Shastras had one thing, that they should never cross seas. Technically not cross the sea. So you use a piece of land, rock, and then walk over it. It was not technically crossing seas. So this is a rule that he must have adhered to. And probably getting so many boats for so many monkeys would have been tough in a short period of time. So he used those Vanaras. But the beauty is, see, have you heard about the Puranam called E.G. Pura flyover? See, I'll tell you, honestly, before I left, in my 3rd year of Pilani, that was when the project was started. After that, I completed my degree. I have a certificate. And after that, I worked in the corporate for 6 years. Then 8 years I've been performing this full time. So add these numbers up. That old is that E.G. Pura flyover. Now, with Naras, with human beings, human resources, we are not able to complete one flyover. Give any amount of reasons we have. Rama, with the help of Vanara resources, VR, not HR, VR, in a span of 5 days, could put rocks and boulders over the existing ridge and carry them from one place to the other. So whether to describe the talent, skill set of the Vanaras or the managerial leadership ability of Rama is debatable. But with this, we need to pray to Hanuman that E.G. Pura flyover gets completed. It should not become one wonder of the world. All standing pillars. Now, see, my worry is by the time they complete the pillar would have already been 15 years old. So that shouldn't have a Hebbal flyover Puranam to it, where you construct the flyover after that and all. Now let's come to what Rama did. Vandanamu Raghunandana Setu Bandhana. So how do you harness the skills? Only when you recognize it. See, HR is not about allocation. It is about recognition. You recognize what one person can do best. See here, Nala was spotted as a Vanara who was extremely adept at bringing the plan out. He was called the Vishwakarma of their times. Neela was a person who knew how to manage those resources instead of getting into unions and other problems. You have only 5 days time. By then you have a protest and demonstration march and then placards. Who's going to manage them? Neela knew how to manage them. Jambavan was that age-old consultant who, have you seen that Woodward's gripe water advertisement? It's an age-old advertisement where, a baby cries. If you haven't seen it, see it. It's there on the YouTube. So a baby cries. The moment the baby cries, the mother is clueless. She being the new mother, she's clueless. Immediately, her mother says, haven't you administered Woodward's gripe water? And then the grandmother comes. Then she says, Woodward's gripe water. Then the great-grandmother comes. She says, Woodward's gripe water. See, the irony is, in this family, no one is dead. All 5 generations have managed to live. And they have only one thing to say, Woodward's gripe water. So similarly, Manu Bhagavan says in Smriti, if at all you're confused about what tradition to follow or not follow, I've given you all the rules. Despite this, if you have a doubt, go ask the oldest person in the family. That person will tell you what was followed earlier. Same is the case with Jambavan. Jambavan is the Dumbledore of their times. He has managed to live generations. So he had a skill. Nala had a skill. Neela had a skill. Hanuman had a skill. So Rama was able to sharpen the saw and synergize with this effort of construction of Setu. So, my point is, I've told this somewhere in the middle. See, I wouldn't get into such a ridiculous debate, nonsensical debate where I say, Stephen Covey has gone through Ramayana and then only written. No, that's not the way I see it. I see it. Any good book on management, you can always spot the best examples of such principles of management somewhere in Ramayana or Mahabharata. How a person has to speak. When Hanuman speaks, you are left in awe. Nandrigveda vinitasya nayajurveda dharinaha na asama veda vidushaha shakyamevam prabhashitum nunam vyakaranam kritsnam manena bahudashrutam bahuvyaharathanena nakinchit apashabditam avistaram asandigdham adhritam avilambitam urastam kantakam. These verses of Kishkindha Kandam, I'm sure all of you will be extremely busy in your own businesses and work. But if at all you get time, please read these verses. What Valmiki says. How does Hanuman speak? Avistaram, it is neither fast, nor too slow, nor at a high pitch, nor at a low pitch. Words have been spaced. How each word has been delivered. Na kinchita apashabditam. There is no inappropriate word. He has always put the right word, right spacing. It should not be shouting. It should not be very baritone. Madhyame sware. It should be at a pitch where people can relish. How he uses his eyes. How he uses every part of communication skills. When for a short period of time, I used to be teaching principles of management at Wellinkar School in Matunga, Bombay. Whenever I used to read that chapter of communication skills, first person that flashes to my mind is Hanuman. How he was able to convey. How he speaks to Sita in the middle of the night when she is in the middle of the demonesses. How he's able to talk to her. She is new. He is new. They have to see each other. What if she raised an alarm? Oh, monkey, monkey, monkey. What did he speak to convince her? What was so convincing in his speech? She could have doubted because she didn't doubt Ravana. She could have doubted him. What if it was Ravana in a different form? But how did he convince her? How did he convey the information back? See, if I was so excited, I was sent on an expedition to Lanka. And I have to return to Rama. I would have given him a 1 hour lecture. See, I started here. Well, Rama, I want to be as modest as possible. Well, I started and there was a hillock called Mainaka. I would have given him a 1 hour lecture. But what Rama wants is whether I've seen Sita or not. Hanuman conveys this two words, Drishta Sita. Saw Sita. He doesn't even say Sita Drishta. He doesn't say Sita I saw. He says saw Sita. Why? Even there he didn't want, he feels that the verb should take precedence over the noun. Because he feels that seeing is more important than Sita. What if I said, Rama, Sita was not spotted? That could also be an answer. But the moment you say saw, there can never be a negative after that. Saw no Sita. Aisa thodi bolta hai. So, saw Sita, Drishta Sita. So, even the 2 words that he conveys has so much of grammatical implication. So, my submission is, what is see, when I said that, all these principles that people write, negotiation skills, Maslow's hierarchy, physiological needs, all these formula that we all learn in management, will be very relatable and enjoyable if you see that in scriptures of your past, because you will know that we were not a barbaric country that as much as we were told to be. We were not given clothes to cover our private parts in 1857 by Robert Clive. No. We have been a country that has had a lot of content and intellectuals. Yes, one thing that we lacked is the art of packaging content. That is that Indians have always lacked in that. I'll just finish with this because there's another beautiful speaker post me. When I was in Detroit, after giving my lectures, I came home. I don't eat 8 vegetables, this place, that place I don't eat. So for me, food becomes a big problem. So while I went home, one of the boys said, see, I liked your lecture. I want to make you a pancake. He made something consumable. So I simply, I wanted to be nice to the boy because he has, after all, made it out of such love and dedication. I asked him, how did he make? He gave me 20 minutes lecture on that. You know what? I went to the Costco and I got a pancake packet and I just cut it open. Oh my goodness. He fried from the cutting process. By the time he bakes, it will be 20 minutes. So for a pancake with a maple syrup, he gave me a 20-minute lecture. Are there any Gujarati speaking astikas here? Yeah. So in the Gujarati food is delicious. There's one dish which many of my friends in Bombay used to make, and it's what is called undio. And it has 27 ingredients in it. Okay. And it takes closely half a day to make. So one of my friends got this and she said, eat this. That was the first time I was having. I was like, is this heaven? Why do people have to say heaven is elsewhere? It is in an undio. So I thought, and I asked my friend, can you show me the person who made this for me? Then she showed me her grandmother. I asked her, genuinely out of, that love that I have for cooking, I asked, how did you make? I thought she'll give a half an hour because for pancake, I got 20 minutes lecture. So how do you make? She said, aise, do din ko dalo ho gaya. I was like, that is when I realized Indians are very good in making, but not at marketing, packaging. So, my earnest request is, without any preconceived notions or prejudice, if we look at our scriptures just as a piece of literature, not as a philosophical work, yes it is, theological work, yes it is, something that will uplift our spirits and wisdom, yes it is. But even as a piece of literature, the way the characters have spanned and have been described gives us a feeling that, well, after reading this management book, let me once go through Ramayana. So every principle becomes relatable, cherishable, and enjoyable. That was the intent of this lecture for Bharatnomics. Thank you, Rajesh, for giving me the stage and the space to speak amid such a learned and an experienced gathering. So thanks to Stephen Covey for putting such habits together, and thanks to Valmiki for proving such habits right with such wonderful characters. Thank you.